paid good money to see this movie. When they go out to a theater, they want cold sodas, hot popcorn, and no monsters in the projection booth.
Everyone pretend podcasting isn't boring.
Turn it off. Turn it off.
Hey folks, welcome to a very special episode of The Projection Booth. I'm your host, Mike White. On this episode, I am talking with writer-director Will Means and actress Rocky Shay all about their new film, Junkie. Junkie is currently going around the film festival circuit. You can follow it on Instagram. I will have a link in the show notes. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy this interview. You two have been working together for quite a little bit here, and I was so curious, how did you meet each other?
It was about exactly 10 years ago now. I was living in Atlanta after I just finished undergrad at University of Georgia. And so I started PAing on film sets down there. And I was PAing on the Ang Lee movie Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk, which is like the majority of it centers around like that football halftime show. And my main thing was that I had to check all the background in and out of the set every day. It's like 400 of them or something crazy. And
16-hour days. It was delicious.
Yeah. And so Rocky was one of them. And so she was a face that I would just see at check-in every morning. But specifically, I was wanting to make a short film at the time called Shit Show that was going to be a house party of a bunch of white trash rednecks just like spiraling into sort of a surrealist nightmare. And I was trying to figure out who on earth I could cast for that. And there was a day on the set where we were like in between takes. And I look across like the bleachers of the football stadium where we are. And I just see Rocky Shay over here in her tight little jeans that were tucked into her Ugg boots. And she's like jiggling around in her seat, singing Missy Elliott's Work It to the two women on either side of her who like didn't know her. And they're both just looking at her like, what is your problem? So naturally I went up to her and I was like, do you try to act? Yeah, I really like your energy. And she was like, well, I'm trying to now. So yeah, that's literally how it kicked off, was thanks to Missy Elliott.
Yep. All thanks to her.
How do you guys work together when you're on set together? And especially when it comes to, your first feature here.
Okay. I think it went like really good. We think a lot alike. Like we have like the same energy. So we feed off each other. And for the most part, I'll understand what Will's directing me to do. And if I have a question, he knows I'm going to ask to make sure that I get it right or whatever. But I think like we feed off each other like really well.
We definitely have the same fucked up sense of humor. Yeah. And like when I made that short film, she has like a really grimy, gross monologue in it. And I always thought, oh, this actor is going to try to just bury this thing afterwards and pretend they never did it. And instead she would perform it again in her acting classes and stuff like that. And I was always really proud of it. But yeah, so I had known her since back then. And I always just like really loved her energy. And then almost 10 years later, I was out here in LA for grad school at the American Film Institute, and she had moved out here working COVID department on films. Yeah, and then I had an idea for another short film I wanted to do, which ended up being my AFI thesis about an orgy in Los Angeles gone horribly wrong. And Rocky naturally was like, I'm down, like, I'll do it. But so the nature of it was always very like comedy centered. But then I was having this idea for Junkie and wanted to do something that was very like heartfelt and very real about addiction, but inject a lot of our chaotic energy into it and show more the lows and the highs of addiction. And I just like knew Rocky on a surface level, but when I first took her the idea of I'm thinking of doing something like this, she pretty much immediately is, oh, I should tell you about all my years as a meth addict and like the 3 rehabs that I ran away from, and proceeds to tell me 5 million other super crazy things that I was like, Rocky, what the fuck? I didn't know that you had done any of this. And then she gave me a stack of her journals that she kept when she was like in rehab, and also some that she wrote when she was high to help me come up with the script. But I felt like going into Junkie really kicked off a whole different era of our working together, because I didn't necessarily even know that Rocky had dramatic chops. Like I knew she could do comedy, I didn't really realize the extent to which she's just capable of really laying it all on the line like she does in this film. But it's something that I think is so personal for both of us and really coming from something very personal that we wanted to express, that it was such a like a raw, grimy, grassroots filmmaking process that it was easy for a lot of people to get like uncomfortable or want to complain about like the working conditions or the hours, just like the lack of assistance that every department had. But
Yeah.
Rocky was always just so committed that it was like I would ask her to get trampled by a mosh pit or run through a mud pit with four-wheelers swirling around her, and she would just be like, how many more times do you need me to do it? It was always like total. I feel like totally changed the nature of our working relationship, because I knew it was just like she was willing to do anything, but we were like very much on the same page the whole time.
So, Rocky, how much did your life inform Junkie?
A lot of it did. I'm 10 years clean now, but just as with the journals, I still haven't went back and read back through them. I just don't want to. I just don't want to or whatever. But when I handed them to Will, that right there, I trust him with my deepest, darkest hurt, secrets, everything. Just handed them off or whatever. But in doing that, I wanted him to really see what the mind of an addict is. That there's a reason why I acted and I did what I did. There's a lot of pain there or whatever, and trying to escape it, and then trying so hard to get clean and get right, and you just fight and fight, and sometimes you can't get there, but then whenever you finally get there, is triumphant. I wanted it to show that there's hope. There's always hope, because if you ever just lose hope, then that's just it. You're done. I think with my experience and sharing that with Will, I just really wanted him to be able to see what it truly is like in the mindset of an addict. And I think that really portrays through the film.
How was it portraying an addict after you'd been one?
At first, people were like, isn't that going to be like triggering for you and stuff like that? But honestly, it was the exact opposite. It made me sick, like never just to ever want to go down that road again. But I wanted to make sure that I portrayed Stevie as true to my experiences too, but as Stevie's experiences as well. I wanted it to be a little bit different than mine or whatever. But I was so focused on getting it right, making sure that she came across to where you actually could pull for her, not just be disgusted with her with all these bad decisions that she's making. And that was really important to me. So I think that's what drove me, is just trying to get it right. Just really wanted this character to really show what it's truly like. I think that was my main focus.
Even though I think I definitely even had to worry sometimes of, oh, is it good for Rocky for me to be creating a scene where she's like free basing meth off of tinfoil, like even though it's with fake meth and everything, but she always had the polar opposite reaction to being like triggered or uncomfortable.
Yeah.
She became like meth expert on set because she would just be happily and excitedly telling the other actors how they were doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And how you would actually crush or blaze up some meth, and we're all just taking notes from Rocky throughout.
Well, this is your first feature, and I'm so curious as far as how this all came together for you.
I've been making movies my whole life, since it was in my backyard as a kid, since I was 8 years old. And I always knew it's what I wanted to do. And so this whole long process of, you go to undergrad and then you think like, if I can just get on film sets, all my dreams are going to come true. And so then I was on them as a PA, and yet I'm like crashing my car because I fall asleep at the wheel on the drive home, and like of being worked ridiculous hours. I was like, wait, I'm on film sets now. Why am I depressed? And so I ran away from it for a little while, and then I did like some years of hippie backpacking around the world, but then found myself like really missing it and just missing the artistic outlet, and took a chance to apply to grad school, got into American Film Institute, came out here just in time for the pandemic to hit during that. But the one like really nice thing about that was during that time I got to meet Patty Jenkins, and she was promoting Wonder Woman 84 at the time. And since she's an alumni of the school, came and did a talk, and everyone was like fangirling about Wonder Woman. And I was like I got one question in the Q&A, and I was like, how do you come out the gate as a first-time filmmaker, nothing under your belt, and manage to make something as niche as I want to do an empathetic portrayal of a serial killer that's also a queer love story? And she's like, whoa. and so it like kicked off a relationship between us, and she read another script of mine I've been working on and really loved it and really wanted to develop it. And it was just the whole up and down chaos of I'm in grad school, but I'm also like, oh my God, all my dreams are coming true. Because Monster, her first film, has been one of my favorites literally since I first saw it when I was like 12. And you think your whole career is launching right there, but then financing fell through on one of the ideas we were trying to do. And then she was getting pulled off to have to produce her other projects and develop other big studio movies. So I was like, let me scale it back and try to maybe come up with a smaller idea I could do more easily, which was this other film idea called Calamity. But then when we're budgeting it out, even though it all takes place in one house, it suddenly was like, okay, but Will, there's a stunt in every scene of this movie. Like, this is going to be almost $2 million. So then I'm like, oh God, I really feel like I'm in a room full of closing doors. And I'd finished AFI, and you realize that even if you go to a fancy grad school, that like the world doesn't just come knocking at your door begging you to make cinema after something like that, because there's already enough people competing to do that. It was Patty and also my editor, Noam Clement, who both said to me, like, are you really telling me you don't have a smaller idea somewhere in you that you can really get scrappy with it and pull something together? And so that was when I started just developing this idea of Junkie, because the one before is much more, like I said, an addiction film in a horror direction, and pivoted being like, okay, what if I took an addict and made them like a superhero? But to me, a superhero is like a heroic act is just trying to do something right.
Yeah.
As simple as that. But let's shoot it in action movie widescreen and have these like crazy fight sequences and shit. And let's just go back to my home turf of Georgia and shoot it like in our backyards with our friends on a bunch of borrowed locations and stuff like that. And that is pretty much exactly how it happened. And Patty wasn't really involved during it because she was busy, and I knew like I just want to make something good enough that if she sees it afterwards, she'll want to put her name on it. And then apparently it worked. Yeah. Yes.
I hear that you somehow used Canva to help you with this.
No, not at all. That's the hilarious thing, is that Canva wanted us to speak on it. And I was like, about prepping and developing a movie with their software. I was like, you guys couldn't have picked a worse film for me to speak on, because there's no prep for Junkie. But so the funny thing was, the other film idea I'd had that was also this Southern thing in a horror direction, we had developed for so long. We had made lookbooks, we had used Canva, stuff like that. And then I was having this idea, and the other thing I knew I wanted to do was, I had heard about this mudbogging festival in Kentucky called Redneck Rave that had gone viral for being open during the pandemic, and it was something like 40 something people were arrested on warrants at it one year. And I was like, oh my God, I want to go there. Yeah. And the idea was like, if I have no money to make a first film, I don't want people to watch it and feel that and be like, oh, okay, it's a chamber piece with two sisters in a cabin. Like I was like, I want people to watch it, and as it's going on, be like, holy shit, like, how did the scale of this film like balloon this big as it was going? And so I like cranked out a script in a month. And by the time I finished that draft, there was 1 month until Redneck Rave was going to happen. And I was like, I don't want to wait a whole other year. Oh my God, okay, let's try to get out to that festival. And fortunately, because we had done the prep for the other film and with Canva and everything, it was the same like DP, production designer, like crew that were trying to pitch the other film. It's still the same environment. Let's take all this prep work we did, transplant it to this other film, but instead of Steadicam work, it's all handheld. And instead of going into saturated color surreal horror, it's all going to be like desaturated, like grimy, dusty Junkie. And yeah, and we literally had a month to be ready to shoot it from the time the script was ready. So it was the first thing I did with no shot list. Like, the crew didn't see the locations until we showed up to shoot them each day, like very from the hip, on the fly. Stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't recommend it.
Seat of your pants, it sounds like. Rocky, you're in, I think, almost every single scene of the film. So how was that for you? How much had you been talking to Will about this idea, and like how ready were you to just jump into this project that kind of came from nothing to all of a sudden it's ready to go?
Yeah, it was crazy. I had a little less than a month to prepare or whatever. And of course, whenever I read the script, I loved it. But I thought, oh my God, I'm literally on every page except two. This is a lot. But I was actually living in LA at the time and my lease was up. And so I was like, instead of getting another apartment and we're shooting in Georgia, that's where I'm from, I'll just move back in with my parents while we're filming this or whatever and put my stuff back in storage here. And then the strike happened and I ended up just staying out there. But we shot it was a little bit over a month. Was it 5 weeks?
The first shoot was
Yeah.
really 13 days.
Oh God,
Yeah.
like so much longer.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
it was 13, like
But-
basically nonstop. Like,
So yeah, so basically to prepare because I basically prepared the morning of because for me, I can't prepare for 2 days later when it's a totally different scene or whatever. I will totally mess up everything. And I just will the way my mind works. So it was preparing the morning of, getting into that mindset or whatever. But also, I think knowing the script pretty good and knowing like what the story was about and how Stevie is. And luckily, Will was very lenient on some of the lines that I may have mixed and allowed me to do a little bit of improv.
she's an improv queen.
Yeah, so thank God for that. But yeah, preparing was like literally kind of like by the seat of my pants, like literally that morning, just making sure I get right. And I think sometimes I would psych myself up. Oh my God, I've got to get this right or whatever. And then I'm like, I'm sorry. Ah! And then, but I think it all worked out. It worked out for me.
I was like, not to sound like a bitch, but it was like if sometimes other actors had like a complaint about what the scene required of them or the lines they couldn't remember or something, it was always just, okay, Rocky has a book that she has to memorize. Like she literally doesn't get a day off.
Yeah.
She doesn't get a shot
Yeah.
in this film. Like she has to carry it on her back. Put her through the ringer.
That all sounds difficult. What was the toughest stuff for you to do, Rocky?
So I don't like to run. And he literally had me in booty shorts and I'm running this entire film. So that was really the most difficult, trying not to, because nobody runs pretty. And I definitely do not run pretty, but which kind of goes with a character because I'm high or I'm like coming down or just trying to get away from my family or whoever I'm running from that at that moment or whatever. But that was really probably the most difficult. The scenes that were very dramatic, and especially the ones with my son or whatever, to me, those came not simple, but I knew how important they were, and I wanted them to come off authentic, and I think they did. So I tried not to worry too much. Even though I wanted to get it right, I tried not to put too much pressure on me. Oh my God, you've got to get this line has to land exactly like this. I just let it flow, and hopefully it did right, and I think it did. We had some beautiful moments.
Same question for you, Will. What was the toughest stuff for you to shoot?
Oh man, toughest stuff to shoot. I'm literally like, which one do I pick? Because I just remember that the whole nature of the shoot was that we were like, every day we would be like, okay, today's a hard day, tomorrow is an easy one. And especially when we started the film by shooting the climax, like in a mud bogging festival we had no control over. We got the biggest challenge out of the way, but it was like every day would surprise you of like, I couldn't possibly have expected this to be more difficult. But then it's like, you don't expect that, like when you're trying to get a toddler to act a scene, that's going to be a nightmare. Or like some of the places we shot in were like real trap houses and like in the real like meth neighborhoods of Georgia and stuff. And it was like, we literally had like people on meth, like coming screaming through the sets and stuff.
Yeah, I got nervous during those times or whatever. It did make me nervous, like to be around the people who would, because I can always spot someone who's high or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, we're definitely in the part.
Yeah, there would always be the tension for me of, are we gonna pull something off in time? But I feel like when it came to stuff that felt more stunty or like, we need to shoot them pushing through a concert crowd, or we need to shoot a crazy fight sequence in a kitchen, I feel like some of those almost just felt easier because it felt like playing with Legos, because you're like, it's really just like craftsmanship, and that it was easier to be outside of your head during, but it would be something like nailing a really intimate dialogue or something that I feel like would usually be the thing stressing me the most, of feeling like I needed to nail it. And then suddenly we're shooting like one of the most emotional scenes at 3 a.m. after a whole day of Rocky already having to run around in booty shorts. And then I can tell that like her brain is melting.
Yeah.
It would usually be more about sticking the landing of something emotional rather than getting her to crawl through a mosh pit. And so those are like a walk in the park compared to some of just like dialogue scenes, honestly.
I know that you probably wrote this with Rocky in mind, but tell me about the rest of your cast and how you found them.
It's a whole hodgepodge of actors I've worked with before, total non-actors, like street casting. Because there's no time to prep it again, two of the main supporting people, Jessica and Kian, who play Sherry, her like girlfriend, and Kai, her drug dealer, they had also been in my like two previous short films. And so I kind of wrote with them in mind for those parts because they've really become like ride or die actors down to do whatever. But then otherwise, it's like the guy who plays her son, who I think does an incredible job, was just my barista at my local neighborhood and had mentioned to me that he liked acting. And then the guy who plays her ex-boyfriend was like, I was telling people I needed like a gruff, like Southern guy who could pull that off. And someone was sending me links to other actors. And I saw the picture. I saw the guy who it now is in a picture with one of those recommendations and literally was like, who's that guy? And just DM'd him like, one person and plays like the meth head Bailey, the blonde girl, has been one of my friends since we were 13, and she's not an actor, she's a dancer, but I just threw her under the bus of making her do this. So and sometimes it would literally, we'd be shooting a montage and be like, which one of our friends is nearby?
Yeah,
let's throw them in the movie real quick. Like very all over the place for sure.
Other than the challenges of shooting in some very bad neighborhoods, how was Georgia to shoot in?
I think it was good.
Yeah, I mean, humid.
Yeah, God, yeah, because it's near in summer. Yeah,
but that was one thing that I like wanted so bad, was to do a different type of Southern film, because I feel like when we think Southern in movies, everyone's brain goes to like desert movies, and you think like Thelma and Louise, like Texas, or like No Country for Old Men, and it's all either orange or it's like blue and gray. And the South that we know, that we grew up, is very lush, green, humid, sweaty. Yeah. One of the few other movies I feel like I've seen that captured that so well was Patty Jenkins' Monster, where when I saw that movie, I was like, oh my God, this feels like where I grew up. And that all the characters it wasn't that we took a supermodel and had them grow an ugly beard and put a cowboy hat on, and we were like, it's Southern authenticity. It was like Monster's a movie where like they took a supermodel and they like uglied her down to make her look like a real person, and everybody in that film looks like a real person. And I've been really happy that a lot of people who watch it say the environment feels like a character in the film, because a lot of people were like, I haven't seen this type of Southern before, but I feel like it's weird to us because we're like, that's what we know so well. But so there was like a comfort element of even shooting there, because I think I'd been trying to make things work in LA for so long, and that's where it felt like all these doors were shutting. And so it was like I went back to home base, and it just being scrappy with my friends in the woods felt like exactly how I grew up making movies. Like,
Tell me about your premiere.
We're freaking out to get ready for it after these interviews are over. It's 6 p.m. tonight. Yeah, we're premiering at AFI Fest.
Sold out.
So we sold out like before the weekend even hit, which we can't believe because there's no famous people in our movie. So we're very happy about that. But yeah, like Patty will be there. We'll be doing a whole Q&A afterwards.
Humbled.
I'm saying, humbled. I'm saying this knowing I'm not processing it mentally as I'm saying it, and I won't be for the rest of the day. But like that we did this scrappy thing with not even enough money to finish a movie in our backyard. And now for some reason, people are taking it seriously enough that they want us to play it in a sold out room at the Chinese Theater on Hollywood Boulevard. It feels like we're getting away with like we duped people and we don't know why they're not on to us yet. like how did we get here?
Surreal. Like that's how I feel. Just all the good press that we've had about it. Just everybody seems to have really enjoyed it, liked it, and just to hear that's something that we poured literally our heart and soul into, when people were actually recognizing that and liking it. So it's just, what? And so I'm excited, like we're real excited, just don't know what to expect, but just my daughter's going to be here. She hasn't seen it, so I'm so excited just to see her reaction. And it's just, it's just great.
A lot of the actors like still haven't seen it.
Yeah.
They were going to see it for the first time tonight.
Yeah.
So I hope they're happy.
Are they going to do the whole red carpet, the photos, and all that kind of stuff? Like really do it up?
We're not getting that like George Clooney, Adam Sandler level that they had the other night for sure, because I don't think people are clamoring to photograph Will Means and Rocky Shay.
Right.
They'll be clamoring to photograph her soon enough, but we do have to go do a whole photo op at their like AFI backdrops.
Little red carpet. And,
Talk to some breath. I'm mainly going to be, I was haggling AFI all week to let me get in the theater to approve the audio levels before they play the movie. So I'm mainly going to be trying to run off to do that probably while she's taking photos. This thing has just been so grassroots from the ground up, and we're premiering at this huge festival with like no studio attached to the film, like no distribution plan yet. Like I can't believe we got it this far, but I think we're just hoping that it blows the roof off and that it becomes a conversation piece that helps us get a much wider release for it and all of that, because obviously we wanted to get out there as far as possible. And I think Rocky and I both still believe in a kind of cinema that we're not seeing anymore, that is movies with just faces you don't recognize and zero CGI and indie as hell, like very handmade. And I feel like
people want to see that.
I feel like Hollywood's underestimating how much easier it can be to empathize with that a lot of the time. Like, even if I'm watching a rugged Southern story, or even an addiction story, I'm not going to relate to it as much when I know that it's like Timothy Shamalama Bing Bong playing the drug addict, because I know he's like a huge A-list celebrity. And I just I really hope that people identify how much easier it is to connect and have empathy with something
real,
something not familiar in you. Yeah. So I think we're both just really hoping that people like respond to it, get excited about it. Yeah. And even the sellout, it feels like maybe we're like the cool kid of the festival. Yeah. Because it's all these big celebrity dramas. And then there's just the I don't know what it is, movie called Junkie with Rocky flipping a middle finger on the poster.
Very nice image on that poster.
Thank you.
Is there a place for people to keep up with the movie and with you guys?
Instagram mainly. Yeah, that's where I post everything for it. At Real Means is mine. It's RILL_Means, my last name. Rocky's is a girl called Rocky Shay. Yeah. That's her Instagram handle. And then we're having an East Coast premiere at Maryland Film Festival in Baltimore 2 weeks after this. Yeah. And I really love that festival, and they're playing it twice actually on like Thursday and Saturday of that weekend. And other than that, we're out to other festivals and we're starting the like sales talks with people. So we're about to see what happens. Yes, maybe we're both about to disappear back into obscurity.
Yeah, who knows?
Hopefully not, because I loved the movie and I really had a great time talking with y'all. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, this has been great.
There's nothing you can say to her. She's right where she wants to be, out on the edge where no one can touch. And although she's not moving, I hear her laughing. Wait till you try it before you judge. She says you don't know, no you don't know, you don't know. I said shoot me up for the love of a junkie. 'Cause I wanna know. hearts of your loved ones like crackers in soup. While you pawned off the silver cross I bought you in New Mexico, and you waved to the saints as over the desert you flew. She says you don't know, no you don't, no you don't, you don't know. And I said shoot me up for the love of a junkie. Floor of my hotel room, veins filled with poison made custom for me. And I pulled myself up and I stared in the mirror. Just for an instant I could finally see